What is good, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video as we're here for our 80th, yes, 80th Ring of Honor TV review, a 2-hour plus long episode. I have said this the past 2 weeks, so I'm going to be my third week in a row saying it, but I think this time will be the last time. I'm very much hoping, but I think it is the last episode to take place at the Esports Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Now, to my defense, I didn't want to read spoilers. Sometimes I do, but sometimes this time around I didn't want to read spoilers to see what was happening. So that's why I kept thinking, oh, last week would be the end. And I should have put 2 and 2 together because the way that they spaced out the tapings, because they did 2 sets. How's the best way to explain it? They did 4 tapings in total, and they split them up into 2 sets of tapings. 2 sessions, I guess, is what they said. So I should have put 2 and 2 together, but it's just there also been 2-hour-long episodes. Tonight's show is 13, 14 matches, and I wasn't trying to spoil it for myself, so I thought we would have been done, but I think this is the last time. If not, I don't know what the hell. That being said, though, not a lot happened on this freaking... We had a lot of matches, but nothing oh my god, go out of my way, except for the last 2 matches. So that is a bit of a spoiler alert, so I'm going to go through this episode as quickly as I can. The first matchup being Aaron Solo versus Rocky Romero. Back and forth early with forearms, Romero hits some good drop kicks and a Hurricane Rana. He setting up for the forever clotheslines. Solo goes to the top rope for a foot stomp that gets a 2 count, and then both attempt moves off the top rope with Romero's top rope Shirakawa winning the match for Rocky Romero. We then go backstage where Lady Frost is there, who said that she has not been here in the past few months, and that is due to competing all over the world and wants to earn a title match, a specific title match for the women's TV title, which she hopes to do so in the Proving Ground. So, Red Velvet has been the women's TV champion for about a month now. And I've been on the record as saying that this title is I don't think I've been on the record as saying it's useless, but it's just they have done this title no favors. Billie Starkz never defended it. She had Proving Ground matches, which I was debating, do you count those as defenses or not? I personally don't, so technically, she never really had any successful defenses. And now Red Velvet's had the title for a month and has only had 1 match prior to tonight. So hopefully this first matchup is the start of something with this title, because I felt when they added the title, it was a bit unnecessary. And considering that I sometimes forget about it, I think it kind of adds to that point. As now, we get a clash of former tag partners Nick Camarda and Lee Johnson. Jacoby Watts tries to distract Johnson throughout the match, and the 2 battle on the outside where Johnson is tossed into the ring post. Johnson tries to build a comeback, but "Are you Shikaroshi?" by Camarda gets a close 2 count. Watts keeps inserting himself into the match, which does not help when Camarda runs into him, and then this sets up Johnson to win the match off of a roll-up. Camarda is upset afterward and attacks Johnson with EJ Nduku, making the save as both Camarda and Watts go down. So there's 2 notes following this. Later in the episode, Njoku, and I keep saying Njoku because it is very similar to the NFL football player David Njoku, which I don't think it's spelled the same, but it's very close. So Njoku and Johnson are aligning themselves in a partnership, which they do in a promo later in the episode. And B, which is the thing that I've been more flabbergasted by, is that Nick Camarda several weeks ago had surgery, and he said that he's not going to be back until 2025. And so I was like, I like Nick Camarda. This Jacoby Watts, Nick Camarda pairing, I'm not the biggest fan of because the Jacoby Watts thing doesn't do anything for me, to be honest. But it's been weird because I've known that Nick Camarda is going to be out for 2 weeks because the surgery was right before All In. So that was 2 weeks ago. And so back-to-back episodes, he has still appeared. So that is why taping in bulk sometimes leaves into questionable things. I do think a Camarada and Njoku match would have been good, but we'll have to wait for that, so we'll see what happens there. Speaking of a pairing, Paul White is backstage interviewing Anthony Henry and his second cousin and tag partner, Beef, which has been a while since we've seen them on TV. And he asks, are these two men the workhorsemen? And Anthony Henry is like, no, the workhorseman's me and JD Drake, which, where the hell JD Drake is, I don't know. They have not followed up on it or anything. So essentially this interview was just saying that this is not the workhorseman and that these two are second cousins once again. And they do have a matchup in about a minute, but there's a match before that, that being Rachel Ellering and Gigi Ray. There was one fan that was really into this match at ringside, and I'm glad that Rachel Ellering high-fived her at the end of it to show her enthusiasm. But Gigi Ray has a good bit of a momentum in the early portion of the match and hits a running elbow for a 2 count. Ellering hits her own running elbow and a senton for a 2 count. Ellering wins the match with a boss woman slam. And then the fan high five happened. And so now we get to that tag match I was just mentioning. Anthony Henry and Beef versus Jay Lucas and Terry Yaki. Not just the word, Terry and then Yaki, which several puns are made about Beef and teriyaki. I will say that Lucas and Yaki, which sounds weird to say by its own, had a good showing. I'd like to see them back. But the course of this match was Beef insisting that they do the Code of Honor, which Henry did not want to do. And then he tags himself in to start the match off. Henry wants to just get this match done and has to save the day from Beef's mess-ups throughout the match. But Beef ends up winning the match for them after a top rope frog splash. Next, the Iron Savages versus Angelico and Serpentico. Angelico and Bronson start the match off with the beginning portion of this seeing the SAP trying to outmuscle their opponents, which if you've seen the size discrepancy would be extremely difficult to do. Then they use the speed advantage to their advantage with Angelico's kicks and a Serpentico splash that gets a 2 count. Serpentico dives onto Jameson and Boulder on the outside while Bronson is in the inside being applied an ankle lock by Angelico that gives Angelico and Serpentico the victory. As now we get to that proving ground bout I was talking about earlier. Red Velvet versus Lady Frost. A series of roll-ups early, and the two battle with a test of strength. The two then try to exchange spinning kicks, even though Frost, like, they were supposed to both miss, and it was supposed to be like, ooh, but, like, Frost, like, Velvet just stands there, and Frost, like, hits her and then just has to, like, brush it off for that effect. Frost cartwheel cannonball gets a 2 count. Frost moves out of the way of Velvet's standing moonsault. We get more roll-ups, leading to several 1 counts. Then out of nowhere, I was writing this down like, because it's like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3. I was flabbergasted by it, but Red Velvet wins this matchup, and there will be no women's TV title match for Lady Frost. So now we go to the backstage area where Taya Valkyrie, who attacked Mina Shirakawa and Rachel Ellering last week, explains why. She didn't really have any problem with Rachel Ellering. She was just in the way of Mina Shirakawa, and that she is tired of seeing Mina Shirakawa around, and that she just pops up whenever and wherever she wants to, which I guess kind of a Joe Hendry situation. She says Mina Shirakawa, and she pops up here and says that everybody wants Mina and wants Taya to dance with her, and then she does it. Taya runs away and dances with Melissa Santos. So that sets up our main event matchup, but we got a lot still to talk about. Lance Archer and the Righteous face Lights, Camera, and Faction, which I apologize to those 3. There's actually 4 individuals out there, only 3 competed because it's a trios match. They did not say their actual names because I doubt that their name is Lights, Camera, and Faction. But it was an extremely quick matchup. Vincent starts the matchup by hugging his opponent and then kicking him in the gut. We see frequent tags from both sides throughout, but the Righteous hit an Orange Sunshine and Archer hit a Blackout to win the match, which is almost the same thing. Like the Righteous and Lance Archer, it's a good pairing. I've wrote down that sentence so many freaking times, and if you want to know something that's crazier, is that they're undefeated in ROH. And have had at least 1, I think 2, ROH 6-man tag title shots that were on AEW TV, and have lost those matchups. I'm not the biggest fan of that decision. I think they would be good 6-man tag champions. Diamante and Tiara James have an extremely quick bout because before anything could even happen, Diamante hits a crossroads and wins the match, and then she attacks James afterwards with Red Velvet coming out to make the save. So now we get Griff Garrison versus Cool Hand Ange Angelo Parker. Cool Hand Ange is one step ahead in the early portion of this match. Maria throws in one of her boots, which distracts the referee, and then she has her other boot and hits Ange with it, and then Garrison hits a nice Blue Thunder Bomb for the shocking and extremely good finish, with Griff Garrison picking up a bit of I would say a shocking victory, but he competes more in singles matches than Angelo Parker does, so I don't really have anything to complain about here. Tony Nese and Ari Daivari versus Joe Alonzo and Josiah Jean takes place. Nese and Alonzo start the match with the premier athletes keeping Alonzo cornered. I don't even think that Jean got tagged in during the course of this match. Daivari hits a frog splash off the top rope while Nese dives onto Josiah on the outside, and the premier athletes win the matchup. John Silver and Fuego del Sol takes place next. Silver can't keep up with the pace of Fuego, so his Dark Order teammates on the outside try to help him out, but they get caught with a Fuego dive to the outside. Silver keeps Fuego grounded while back in the ring until Fuego hits a pop-up springboard. Fuego, however, still does not stand a chance because the Dark Order members get involved with outside interference, and Silver wins the matchup with a spin-out slam. Abaddon then faces Rochelle Chanel, which I thought it was spelled Rachel, but there's no L, and so it's pronounced Rochelle Chanel, which I guess rhymes on purpose. Abaddon's clothesline, right off the rip, leads to a dominant Abaddon performance and an Abaddon win with the Black Dahlian. And commentary team made a lot of notes that Athena is around 3 weeks, by now 2 weeks away from breaking Samoa Joe's reign as the longest reign of a single title reign in ROH history. But I imagine that we'll get an Athena Abaddon match before then, because they were like, I don't know, is Abaddon going to face Athena and stop that from happening? So there's a 2 week chance of that happening. As now we get to the two notable matchups from this episode. Josh Woods versus Katsuyori Shibata, the first one to talk about. Both attempts kicks off after the Code of Honor takes place. Then this is followed up with both applying arm locks. Then, that is hilarious. I wrote down Nese when I meant to write down Woods. But Woods lands some forearms, which fires Shibata up to land his own forearms, and then a running drop kick in the corner. Shibata attempts a second rope suplex that Woods reverses into his own Anarchy suplex. Shibata is able to apply the sleeper hold, but before he is able to follow it up with a penalty kick, Mark Sterling gets on the ring apron. So then Shibata has to put Woods back down with an iron claw and then applies an armbar, which Woods taps out of. A good matchup. As now we get to our main event. Taya Valkyrie versus Mina Shirakawa. As I mentioned, Taya attacked Mina last week. Upset that Mina just shows up whenever she wants to, and Mina's looking for revenge for that attack last week in this main event matchup. Taya is aggressive early on and is mainly upset from Mina's dancing. Mina then targets the knee of Taya, applying a figure four. Taya tries to land some kicks, but the knee took some damage, and so it is difficult in doing that. Mina lands a dragon screw leg whip on the second rope. Taya wants Johnny to... This is a weird spot in hindsight that they kind of brushed off, and I was flabbergasted by. But Taya wants Johnny to run into Mina, which the referee, obviously saw this happening because he wasn't distracted or anything. And Johnny runs into Taya. So while this wasn't a DQ, I imagine it was because Taya was the one that initiated it. Again, just me overthinking, but this was just mainly to set up Mina going to the top rope and hitting a crossbody onto both of them on the outside. Mina lands a beauty shot, Tyler Breeze's old finisher that gets a 2 count. Mina then hits the big knee off the top rope and follows it with a splash for another 2 count. Valkyrie hits a spear and a slam for a 2 count, and then she tries to hit the slam once more, but Mina reverses out of it, is able to apply another figure four that Taya taps out of, wrapping up this long episode of ROH. television. So, a lot happened on this episode. I told you what you should go out of your way to see if you want to. Long week. Long weekend. I don't want to extend this any longer than I have to, so I'm going to wrap it up here. I do appreciate y'all for watching this. Watch the rest of the videos on my channel from this week. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one, because I'm out.